By definition, simplicity is the state or quality of being simple. Something easy to understand or explain seems simple, in contrast to something complicated. Originally, I was going to focus on simplicity in general and how it applies in media, especially video games. How simplicity generates attention, interest, it stimulates engagement in humans. That was until I decided to buy a game that was sitting on my wishlist for a while, Overland. Overland is a minimalist, low-poly strategy game developed by Finji, the publishers of Night in the Woods, which happens to be one of my favorite video games, and I will be lying if I said that this fact didn't affect my decision to purchase it in the first place. Overland is a post-apocalyptic theme game where you control a group of survivors on their quest across the United States. You fight against some sort of alien species that has invaded Earth, emerging from a meteorite and reproducing at an alarming rate. The game is set, according to my observations, not long after the apocalypse. Think of it as the first season of The Walking Dead instead of something like Fallout, where it has been at least 2 centuries and the effect of the apocalypse is stronger. Narratively speaking, there isn't much to say. Any pieces of lore are hitting in unmarked or uninteresting locations at first in your game, and they might be random, meaning many players may not even stumble upon them. And finally, at the beginning of the game, with a series of images, the game tells us about its setting without truly saying much, and that's good. Show don't tell, it's nicely fitting here. The rest is for the player to decide based on what the game gives you. Similar to Watch Dogs Legion, the characters you come across have a tiny description about them, and they interact with each other in different ways, especially after encounters and in resting zones. Characters that seem like fighters carry weapons and defend the team, or perhaps someone who seems less inclined to fight might be a good scavenger, etc. Mechanically, the game works in turns and you interact with things by simply clicking. The rest is just thinking and planning your strategies. I played on the hardest difficulty, which enhanced the experience once again. Also, it can be quite unforgiving, and it brought back memories of me playing Fallout 1. Unforgiving. How so? The game relies on your intuition and understanding skills. It doesn't tell you much, and if an object is in utility like gas or a weapon or a medkit, and it is something more rare like a book or a plant, then it might be valuable. I saved said object just in case, and wouldn't you know, it can be traded in certain stages with other survivors. Overland at first is a game that seems complicated or that may demand a great deal of thought, but once you understand how it works, it's quite simple. Then you're set. And when you understand it and its mechanics and give into your headcanon narrative, then you'll understand how it abuses simplicity in a good way. I think one can argue that simple can be a subjective concept. What may be simple to me may be complex to others, and vice versa. But I suppose there are things that are universally simple, like basic maths or understanding who's the protagonist in any piece of media. A gas can is a gas can. A flashlight is just a flashlight. Because of its simplicity, the game turns engaging really quickly. Find gas, scavenge for supplies, find mods for the car, trade, clear roadblocks, keep everyone safe, avoid combat if you can, something that's crucial and something you discover by trial and error, which is charming in a way. You have a goal, work on it, but there's also no pressure. You can take your time. When I was in a phone call with my best friend, that's when I understood how simple it is. It turned quickly into background noise. The way I watch videos or some movies playing in the back while I draw or edit something or do homework, it never happened with a game before, but here it is. For my friend, it is the Binding of Isaac, and I finally understand it. The fact that the game abuses its simplicity in and out of itself isn't bad, but it has negatives in the long run. The very brief story it has is so limited, even characters say it out loud. This is quite boring. they say, when reading very little lore bits. Not surprising, honestly, it's almost speaking directly to the player and saying, don't worry about it, just go back and keep going. It's so simple, quite literally in every aspect: art style, mechanics, story design, and even what little tutorials the game has, and by consequence, strategies and gameplay tactics. You can argue that this is the feature that brings it down, abusing its simplicity. It's a double-edged sword, really. There are risks and benefits. It can be a great and enjoyable experience, but it can also turn shallow. While hard to overlook the flaws, it sells, it keeps you engaged, it stands out regardless. Some have said the first few hours don't bring up anything. And yeah, the scenarios are boring and they do get increasingly interesting the longer you play. But I argue that the first few hours are brilliant. It throws you in and says, okay, enjoy, goodbye. And that's good. But in the long run, it hurts the experience, at least a little. Perhaps to properly enjoy it, you have to put a little bit of your part, interact with the world and characters in a way you see fit, fill in the gaps yourself, and enjoy every little gameplay moment. The joy of finding something rare, or a survivor you like, or experience frustration when you permanently lose someone, when you permanently lose a member of your party, and realize that it was your mistake. Think of it as lo-fi music. I love it. I listen to it all the time. Gaming and studying, making breakfast or doing my makeup, even in the shower. It's simple and it's enjoyable. That's what makes it charming and delightful. And for example, that's the reason why my mother hates it. It's simplicity. Long time ago, I wanted to make a video about a game called Art of Rally, a low-poly minimalistic arcade rally racing experience that I enjoyed so much when it came out. Then, I didn't, and I couldn't understand why until recently. Simplicity is a double-edged sword. Art of Rally has no co-driver and not a high driving skill requirement, unless you're driving rear-wheel cars or those Group B monsters.
3, 2, 1, dale. 50, izquierda 6, 30, derecha 3, se abre 6.
Those are universally hard to tame in my opinion. I switched to Dirt Rally 2.0 because I enjoy the fact that it is not simple. So in this case the tables are turned. I still appreciate it and it's there sitting in my library. And I'm glad I supported the creators, and I think it's a fun experience if you like rally. Come to terms with games like this and its simplicity and enjoy what you have. Fully appreciate it. You'll get used to it, and that's a trait that comes with simplicity. I think that's what Overland wants, and that's why it works. On a personal note, I love this game, totally recommend it. It inspired me to work on a project, and it fueled an interest, and it opened my mind to other things. Seriously, turn off the music and play it with some lo-fi, and you're set. Thank you for watching.